What do you think about the game?
Wow, Eugene, that was one of the most exciting games ever, man. I really, really enjoyed that. And guess how many turns we played?
Make a guess.
Welcome back to Lessons from the Front. Before we get into how many rounds were played, Eugene and I would just like to say a huge thank you to all of you out there for supporting this channel. And also to give a huge shout out to Expedimix for hosting this epic game here in Katong, Singapore. So before we go back to the car for our after game chat, we thought best we share this game with you up front. This super exciting game saw my Germans facing off against Eugene's late war British. My German forces consisted of a single platoon with 9 order dice, which included 2 veteran 6-man squads, one armed with SMGs, the other with assault rifles, each with a single Panzerfaust. An 8-man regular squad with an LMG and 2 Panzerfausts. A 6-man inexperienced rifle squad to generate an extra dice, and 4 smaller veteran squads, a sniper team, a Panzerschreck team, a forward artillery observer, and a 2-man officer squad. I also included a 251 half-track, a regular half-track, which I don't typically use, but as you'll see later, it certainly came in handy. Eugene's list, also with 9 order dice, was regular. His 2 platoons included an armored platoon with a Stewart and a Sherman, and a rifle platoon with 2 6-man squads and 2 5-man squads. He also had a forward artillery observer, though his officer was a single lieutenant. And his troops travelled in a truck. We played on this beautiful table, expertly set up by the staff of Expedimix. The forested and rocky terrain really made for a visually stunning game. We let the dice determine our battle scenario, and it led us to Top Secret. In this scenario, the goal is to capture the centrally placed objective marker and carry it off your own table edge to secure victory. We were also required to deploy in opposite quarters, starting with our forces in prepared positions. The first order dice went to the British, and Eugene wasted no time advancing his truck, carrying 2 6-man squads straight down the road from his corner of the table. Sensing an opportunity to disrupt his plans to quickly seize the objective, I decided to advance my Panzerschreck team through the woods, positioning them at the far edge with the deadly intention of firing a shaped charge into the truck and hopefully wiping out the British troops on board. Unfortunately for me, the shot missed, and my Panzerschreck team immediately came under heavy fire from the first British squad that had disembarked from the truck. 5 of the squad members opened fire, while the squad leader moved to grab the objective. To make matters worse, my Panzerschreck team not only lost a member, failing their cover save, but also failed their morale check. Just like that, my elite anti-tank team had been wiped out. Not only did Eugene's British now hold the objective, but his tanks, no longer fearing my anti-tank capability, were emboldened to enter the fray. In response to the loss of my Panzerschreck team, I also moved my 8-man regular squad into the same woods, hoping to pin Eugene's squad that was holding the objective and slow their progress in taking the objective off the table in the next turn. This squad had some decent firepower, and it was at this crucial moment early in the game that I was faced with a tough decision. Right, so I'm busy playing Eugene, and I have to make a decision. It's quite a crucial one. I've already lost my Panzerschreck. I'm down to 4 Panzerfausts. I've advanced a squad of 8 regulars. They've got 2 Panzerfausts, and I've got to either take a shot at the truck, or I've got to hold back the Panzerfausts for the tanks when they advance towards me later on. If I take out that truck, then he's not going to be able to run away with the briefcase. So I'm a little bit stuck on what to do. I'm thinking perhaps to hold back on the Panzerfausts. And that's exactly what I did. I chose not to use the regular squad's 2 Panzerfausts against the British truck. Instead, I used all 8 figures, 11 dice needing 5s as I had moved, to fire upon the squad holding the objective, and I decimated its ranks. I'll explain later in Eugene's car why I chose not to use the 2 Panzerfausts against the truck. To buy myself a little extra insurance, I also called in an off-table artillery barrage aiming at the back of this truck, and with a little luck, perhaps I might get to obliterate Eugene's truck before the start of turn 2. Eugene then disembarked his second squad from the truck and fired down the road at my half-track, inflicting a pin on this vehicle carrying my 2 6-man veteran squads in the hope that I would fail my motivation test and thus buy himself time to run off with the objective. Eugene also called in an off-table artillery strike aiming directly on this half-track of mine. There would be 2 artillery strikes now waiting to arrive at the start of turn 2. Driving my half-track closer to the objective would be absolutely crucial in the context of this game. Not only to clear the British incoming artillery, but to also get my 2 squads close enough to wrestle the objective away from Eugene's British before he escaped off his side of the table. I therefore moved my officer closer to the half-track to help improve their willingness to press forward, which helped, as my half-track did indeed, with much relief, pass its motivation test and was able to advance 9 inches closer to the objective. However, and this is where the tension was building, to do so, I had to put my half-track in grave danger, but I had no choice but to risk being fired upon by the Sherman.
The next dice.
Eugene, well done. It's your dice, alright?
Alright, so now
What are you doing?
I'm gonna move.
Are you moving? You're not going to take a shot? So he doesn't want me to have the cover. Okay.
Oh, I mean, obviously. Yeah.
Alright.
So I can move up to 9 inch.
Yeah.
It's just past this particular small tiny rock here.
Okay.
Just somewhere here.
Alright.
Okay.
And now you've got a clear line of shot on my Hannah mag.
Yep. So.
Yep.
Measurement.
Yeah, you're within range.
Yep.
Yep. Plenty of range.
And I'm gonna roll 1 dice.
1 dice, needing a what?
5.
Needing a 5 because you moved. Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And oh no, it's a 4!
You must. Thank
It's a
goodness.
4!
Thank goodness.
Oh no!
The last 2 order dice of turn 1 were mine, the Germans, and it ended with a brutal showdown. My 6-man veteran squad, armed with assault rifles, leapt from the half-track and launched a close assault on the already shattered squad holding the objective. The 2nd veteran squad followed suit, jumping out of the half-track and moving to within 6 inches of the other British squad. So I've disembarked over here. I've got 6 veteran infantry, all armed with SMGs. One's got a Panzerfaust. So this dude is going to take a shot at the Sherman. He's within 6. There's going to be point blank range. And then these 5 are also within 6. They're also going to fire point blank range at the British. Good luck. So it's 10 SMGs firing at the British infantry, the bigger group. And then 1 dice for that Panzerfaust firing at the Sherman. The Panzerfaust, because he moved, he needs 5 to hit. The SMGs, they don't get penalized for movement, so they just need 4s. However, I'm in point blank range, so the 5, I actually only need a 3 to hit. And the others I need 2s to hit. Okay, ready? I'll roll over here. This one I'm going to roll again, even though it's a hit, I'm going to roll him again because we said not on terrain. So that hits the Sherman. That's missed. That's missed. The rest are hits. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits on the infantry, 1 hit on the Sherman. So now I'm going to roll for damage against the British infantry.
Sometimes I get scared.
Alright, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 hits. Needing 4s to kill. They're in the open, so they don't get any cover. So needing 4s to kill. And 1, 2, 3 are dead.
Which group again?
This big group here.
Alright, so it's 3 guys out.
Yeah. And they get another pin.
Yesterday I dropped them on myself.
And so they've got to do they have to do a morale test.
Alright, morale
They
test.
are regular, so 9 minus 2 is 7.
7. Alright, I will roll over here.
Yeah.
2 and another dice. 4.
You're
6.
fine, so they don't run away. The Sherman survived the blast, as I rolled a 1, meaning the shaped charge only added an extra pin to the tank. And with that, turn 1 finally came to an end. Before turn 2 began, both off-table barrages had to be resolved. The German shells found their mark with ease, and with an additional roll of 3, the impact radius of the barrage spread to 9 inches. Both of my veteran squads at the objective weathered the blast, thankfully, each receiving just 1 pin. But the British were less fortunate. The British squad that received a direct hit from the 10.5 centimeter shell was already on the verge of breaking and was completely wiped out, while the remaining British squads in the woods and the Sherman were all pinned. The Sherman, in particular, and more crucially for me, took an additional 3 pins, making it highly unlikely to pass a motivation test during turn 2. Once the German shelling had lifted, it was time for the British to retaliate. However, their barrage proved less effective. Due to miscalculations by the ranging in team, British shells landed close enough to the Sherman and Stuart to add even more pins to both vehicles, while the German forces once again escaped with minimal damage. And so, the stage was set for turn 2. The first order dice drawn from the bag at the beginning of turn 2 was German, and before long, the veteran grenadiers were racing back to their own lines, securing victory and bringing a super exciting game to a thrilling end.
So, what do you think?
Well, Eugene, I think that was one of the most exciting, amazing games I've played in ages. It was really, there were just moments of absolute anxiety. I had the adrenaline going. It was such a fantastic game. And guess what, guys? Guess how many turns we actually managed to play?
Make a guess.
It was actually just 1 complete turn, and then at the start of turn 2, both our artillery, off-table artillery, came in, and then I had 1 move and the game was pretty much over. But honestly, the outcome of that game wasn't what really made it special. It was actually just the
actions actually,
Yeah.
somewhere in between.
yeah. So even though we only managed to finish 1 turn, it felt like an eternity. There was just so much happening in turn 1. It felt like we had played a whole game.
Yeah, man. True. Just one turn, one small tiny mistake, and that's it.
Yeah. So in our game, there were a few moments, Eugene, when if the dice had been 1 more or 1 less, the game would have had a completely different outcome.
True.
Don't you think?
True.
So, for example, Eugene very wisely pinned my half track, and you can see here in the photograph the half track where it got pinned. And pinning that half track, had I not passed my motivation test, I would have gone down, and Eugene probably would have got off with the briefcase, right? And you would have won that game, right?
Yeah.
Then also,
had I not moved that Sherman, it will be in the picture.
yeah.
You know, I probably would have just destroyed him because I rolled a 4 instead of
Yeah, so I took a chance, I took a gamble, and I had no choice really, right? If I hadn't moved my Hannah Mag forward, there's no ways I would have stopped you running away with that briefcase. So I had to move the Hannah Mag forward. I couldn't run. Had I run, you would have probably assaulted my vehicle. So, but I wouldn't have been able to get out the vehicle in time to take the briefcase. So I had to advance down the road, putting myself visible to his Sherman, but then you had to make a decision, right? Either shoot at me and giving me hard cover with me being more than 50% obscured by the mountain, or advancing forward, which you did then, right?
Yeah.
So just take us through that again.
Well, because my thinking was, I just don't want to give him the cover. To be very honest.
Yeah. So, but he, unfortunately, as you saw during the after action report, you could see that he actually unfortunately rolled a 4 where you needed a 5, right?
Yeah. So if I had not moved, that 4 would be hit.
Yeah. And had you hit that Hannah Mag,
He
both,
rolled a 3.
both yeah. So both of the veteran squads in that Hannah Mag probably would have been shot to pieces as well, right?
Yeah, probably gone.
So yeah, small moments like that, but geez, like that was such an exciting game, Eugene.
Yeah. Walk me through. What's your thought on the part where you actually walk out and all?
Okay, so when I walked out, you saw that you would have seen the video earlier in this battle report. But Eugene, basically what I was wondering was, do I make a choice? Remember right in the early part of turn 1, I moved my regular squad of 8 men forward to shoot at the team of yours that had captured the briefcase, the squad that had captured the briefcase.
Yeah.
And I had 8 men in that squad, but they had 2 Panzerfausts.
Oh.
So I had to make a decision. Do I use the Panzerfausts to shoot at your truck and take away your transport so you couldn't run away?
Okay.
Or do I hold back the 2 Panzerfausts to later on protect, if I manage to get hold of the briefcase, then to provide covering fire for retreat, for the units, not retreating, but the units carrying the briefcase off the table. And I was thinking that you would probably have pursued my men with your tanks. And I wanted to keep, I thought it's better if I keep those 2 Panzerfausts in reserve to maybe stop you chasing me successfully.
So that is why you decided to run that direction.
Yeah, so I didn't use those 2 Panzerfausts, and in hindsight it actually didn't make a difference because both our artillery came in.
Yeah.
And when it was your artillery coming in, he rolled a 1, which means that there was a calculation error, and his artillery template then moved 6 plus D6, and you rolled a 6, so it was 12 inches, and it had moved randomly towards your tanks. So
it happened to be
towards his tank, and so actually at the end of the day, the Sherman ended up having 5 pins.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't have been able to pursue me anyway. But anyway, that's the fun part of playing bolt action. You just don't know what's going to happen next. You know, it's so exciting.
Okay, looking through your list, can you tell me more about your list when you are?
Okay, so
what
the
was
design.
going through your mind?
Okay, so the designing of the list, you would see that in my army list, I've got an inexperienced squad. They really are rubbish. They're basically there to generate the dice. So just to give me another dice to help me with initiative. And then I've got 2 squads of veteran 6-man units. They're my punch. So they're in the Hannah Mag, and they're going to go where I need them. So in this game, for example, they came down the road in the Hannah Mag, very risky because of their tank, but they came down the road and they disembarked, and they took out both your squads that were holding the briefcase, right?
Yep.
So that's their job. It's firepower. They've so basically 2 squads, each with one with 6 SMGs and the other one with 6 assault rifles. So it's 2 shots each. So it's 12 dice at point blank range. So they dismount. They're within 6 inches of the enemy. So bang, bang, bang. So it's basically to come in and just to smack hard.
Oh, those are killer.
Yeah, and then the other squad is my regular squad. They are armed with rifles and 1 LMG, and they've got Panzerfaust. But their job is not to be in battle. Their job is to provide support. So the hard punching guys, they go in and do the hard punching. But before they get there, these guys, they've got so they've got 8 men, 5 dice with the LMG because of the buzzsaw rule. So it's 5 dice, and then 6 men firing rifles. So it's 11 dice shooting in at wherever my punch is going.
Okay.
So if you remember in the game, I moved them forward to soften you up. I wasn't planning on, I wasn't expecting to do much more damage than pin you and maybe take out 1 or 2 troops. I think I took out 2 or 3 men. And then the guys in the Haname came in and did the job. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the one thing that you would change on my list to make it improve, to make it better?
Well, I think playing British, you're generally going to have regular troops, right? So, does your list get any? I don't play British. Does your list get any veterans? Do they have veteran troops?
They do have veterans, you see, but I just need the dice and all.
Okay, so
that's the
worry
thought
about the
process.
army size.
Yes.
So see, for my army, I sacrifice tanks. So I sacrifice tanks. So for me, I got away again in this game. It's going to catch up with me, I know. Eventually, it could have gone really badly for me in this game. Your tank could have actually taken me out,
Yes.
right? It didn't happen, so I was lucky. But you've chosen a very balanced list. So you've got the armor and the infantry. And to be fair, I think your army is. If I had played with it, I would have been happy too, because I think it's quite a balanced army. Where mine is it's basically infantry. So I don't have the benefit of the tanks that you have. So I would say I wouldn't actually change much in your army. I think it's a very well balanced army. If you want to drop the tanks and bring in maybe Piats or something that can still give you a bit of anti-tank fire, and then bulk up on the infantry and maybe bring in one hard-hitting veteran squad, maybe that might help.
I will think about that.
Yeah. Anyway, that was really great fun. Thank you so much for the game, Eugene.
Thank you.
Good stuff. And until next time, happy gaming!